Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the session. I'm Ramesh Singh, joining you from Delhi. Hope all of you are fine, safe, and healthy. So, in last few days, I have been receiving few messages from viewers as well as my ex-students, and they wish to ask about recent collapse of banks in the USA. And I thought that it will be better to plan for a YouTube session on this topic itself. So here I am in front of you with the topic why banks collapsed in USA. Clear? So let's see it. Why banks have collapsed in last few weeks in America. What effect it will have on India's banking industry, or particularly what impact it will leave on India's financial system. So these are the issues which we are going to discuss in today's session. There are many things which are connected to bank's collapse, from where questions might be asked in preliminary exam as well as in main exam. And those who face interview board, to them many questions might be asked on this topic itself. So let's move on to the discussion of today. In the meanwhile, any question which you feel to ask as your query, you are free to ask them. Either related to the topic of today, नहीं चल रहा है ना, हम देख रहे हैं, topic of today or any other issue which you wish I should reply. Okay? So let's come to the topic. Our topic is why banks collapsed in USA. Clear? Let's visit this topic. You are saying on the slide itself that in past few weeks, two banks in USA have collapsed. Collapsed means they have been closed down by the financial administrator of the country. And the banks have been Silicon Valley and Signature. These two banks are basically mid-sized, and 16th and 17th in the ranking in USA. I hope you have got some idea कि how many banks are today operating in the USA. Have you got any idea how many banks today operate in USA? Hopefully, you don't have got the idea. Anyway, I will give you the idea. At present, according to Federal Reserve Board, there are 7,000 plus banks operating in America today. Since 2008, when America was hit with subprime crisis, which resulted in Great Recession across America and all advanced economies. Since then, over 1,000 banks in America have already been closed down. Even then, America had 7,000 plus banks. Imagine, you just compare our situation with the USA. In India, hardly 57, 58 odd banks are operating, which include public sector banks, private sector banks of India and foreign origin. Clear? अब suppose कि in India 2 or 3 big size banks close down, so our banking industry will virtually collapse. People of India may not get banks to open their accounts with. So that is a different story of financial system in case of USA. Now the story is that these two banks have collapsed back to back by mid-March 2023, and as per the experts, presently there are around 180 more banks which are in similar financial situation. Clear? It means the reasons due to which these banks have collapsed, we have to still go into the reasons. What might have been the reasons why these banks collapsed? But I tell you, if the reasons due to which these two banks have collapsed, due to which you have seen Credit Suisse also in Switzerland going for a merger with another bank, and there is a danger on the Deutsche Bank of Germany also. You might have read in media. So I just want to have your attention that the reasons due to which Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank have closed down, if those reasons continue for few weeks, or rather say few months, the chances are that another 180 banks in America will face the dangers of closure. They won't be able to operate. Clear? This is to the extent the news and the event related to banks collapse are concerned. Clear? Now coming to the reason why banks collapse basically. Clear? Reasons behind collapse. 3 lines I am highlighting here in the slide. Recent interest hikes by Fed, that is Federal Reserve Board of America, the central bank, which has been increased by 4.5% till March 2023. Asset liability mismatch of banks, and the lastly, which resulted in bank run. Okay? So let us try to interconnect these 3 lines which I am highlighting here. First thing is that what exactly is bank run? Bank run is when too many depositors in a bank start withdrawing their money simultaneously. Such situation creates a crisis for bank. As much banks are not maintaining with themselves, they never imagine that their customers might start withdrawing their deposits all together at a time or most of them at a time in such a big way. The reason banks fail to pay back their depositors' money and banks collapse. This is bank run. Okay? It means कि recent banks collapse in America have been caused by bank run. That is also written as banking run. Clear? Why bank run takes place? The question is this. The first thing you need to understand, in case of every bank, banks have basically assets and they have liabilities. Liabilities means the money which is due on them, which they need to pay to the people from whom the money had been taken. This is liability. When a liability is a kind of negative and assets are a kind of positive. Up here, the biggest group of assets of banks are basically loans. The loans which banks offer, they are their assets. The money which banks invest in government securities, and other debt stocks. They might have constructed buildings. They might have invested money in share market also. Okay, these are banks' assets, and you know that these assets they have their value. Okay, and this value keeps changing moment by moment. Clear? Similarly, the liabilities which banks owe to them, their value also keeps changing, but not as much the values of assets. For example, suppose a bank has given loan of rupees 5 crore to a borrower. Till loan is being serviced by the borrower, it is still earning money. The day this loan converts into non-performing assets, asset is there, but its value has gone down. Lesser the chances of recovery of this loan, lower the value of assets which bank has been able to create. I hope you are getting my point. Clear? So what happens at the day is suppose a bank's liabilities are of 100 rupees and valuation of asset is less than 100 rupees. Less than 100 rupees. It means कि liabilities are on higher side and assets are on lower side. In such a scenario, the time this news goes out, which can't be controlled because central banks keep regulating banks and banks have to keep updating central bank, their regulator, their updated financial position. Clear? About big banks, public knows who are their main borrowers. As you know, IDBI faced NPA crisis primarily caused by BJ Malaya. You know, so similarly about banks, stakeholders know who are their borrowers, how their business is performing. The day their business starts underperforming, they fail to pay back loan and service back loan, and their loans face the chance of converting into non-performing assets. Did you get the point? So, due to various reasons, what happens? Key liabilities of banks are more or less unchanging, while valuation of assets they change over time very fast. Clear? So, if there is a mismatch between value of assets and values of liabilities of a bank, chances are there of bank run. Clear? अब in such a scenario, depositors start withdrawing money from their accounts. What bank can do? Bank will run to cover up the crisis. To cover up the crisis. Cover up means कि bank will try to manage liquidity and money so that it can pay back to its depositors. But what bank can do to manage money and mobilize money? Bank has got only two choices. One choice is the assets they have created, particularly debt assets, they will start selling them. And another is that they might issue fresh equity shares. Owners of bank, they will sell shares, get money, and use this money to pay the depositors their cash back. Okay, this was done by Silicon Valley to the tune of around $2.2 billion before it got closed down. On the other hand, the assets they own, for example, in India, our banks maintain SLR, and in SLR, they invest money in government securities, G-SECs. So, under this crisis, out of SLR, if SLR is more than 18%, presently Indian banks are supposed to maintain SLR of 18% only. But Indian banks are maintaining around 31% of their total deposit. So rest of 18%, banks will run to sell them. अब suppose कि a GSEC was purchased in 95. अब now bank is forced to sell in 93. Here they are fetching a loss of 2 rupees. This is what happened in case of Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank. It means कि huge amount of assets they sold off to mobilize fund to manage bank run, which they failed to do. Why? Because in recent time, Central Bank of America has increased interest rate. And just understand, कि suppose 100 rupees government security is there, interest rate is 5% per annum. So this security will be purchased by a bank for SLR maintenance in 95. Suppose कि tomorrow interest rate goes to 8%. The value of this 100 rupees security will fall down. You see a 3% difference. So it will be having worth of only 92, 3 rupee loss. This is known as bond price. This is known as interest rate. I hope you know the inverse relationship between bond prices and bond yield. Bond yield means the interest you earn on a bond. GSEC is nothing but GSEC is basically a bond issued by Government of India. Long-term bond, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. There are few G6 which never mature. Clear? They are of perennial nature. Such bonds are issued across the world by governments of the world. Clear? So what has started happening? A recent crisis was kick-started. Recent crisis was kick-started primarily due to Federation increasing interest rate. Clear? And I have highlighted here that in last few months, Central Bank of USA has increased interest by 4.5%. It was increased 2 days back also by quarter percent point. Clear? And till date, Central Bank of not only USA but across European Union, they are repeatedly saying interest rates needs to be increased further if we need to check and control inflation rate from rising and cut it down to comfortable range. Clear? As per experts, if America wants to tame down inflation in the range of comfort, it needs to further increase interest rate by minimum between 2.5 to 3% point in the coming weeks and coming months. Let's see what happens over there. Okay, and about this economic survey of 22-23 has also shown concerns because when interest rates are increased in America, the dollar appreciates and it creates pressure on rupee to depreciate. Clear? So this is the crux of the matter. Why these banks have collapsed? The main reason is interest rate hike. Clear? And through this, I gave you a bit more idea about banking business. How banking business is managed. How banking business basically runs. Clear? And I hope this might have given you a bit more clarity about this aspect. Clear? Let's move on to our next slide. At present, in America, depositors $250,000 are insured. Clear? In India, this is RS 5 lakh. If you convert 5 lakh rupees into American dollar at today's rate of exchange of rupee against dollar, it stands at 6,071 US dollars. Clear? It means कि in America, every depositor's money in every single bank account is insured up to $250,000. Clear? Rest of money is not insured. It is believed presently that among 180 banks which are facing risk of closure, more than 50%, above 50% deposit is not covered by deposit insurance guarantee of USA. Clear? So if in case of these banks, similar fear crops up in minds of their depositors, so there also depositors will start withdrawing their money from their bank accounts and 180 banks will face crisis of closure. Clear? Because people will think I have got basically 5 lakh dollar, $5 lakh in my bank account. While half of it is insured, other half is not insured. What they will do? They will simply withdraw $2.5 lakh. अब suppose a great many people start visiting bank at a time to withdraw their money. Will bank be able to give them money? Not possible. And this will convert into a crisis and banks might collapse. You might have read in media, in case of Silicon Valley Bank, bank run of just 40 hours forced this bank to close down within 40 hours. Imagine the number of customers who ran to withdraw their money from their bank accounts and deposits from Silicon Valley Bank. Clear? These 180 banks which are facing this risk, they are of similar capacity as in case of either Signature Bank or Silicon Valley Bank. Clear? Coming to the next aspect. As per RBI, as per Ministry of Finance, hitherto, our banking industry is not facing any risk due to banks closures in USA. To the extent Indian businesses and industry are concerned, according to government, only tech companies are facing certain risk, particularly information and communication related technology companies. Clear? But according to government, the financial pressure they are facing, it has created situation worrisome. They are concerned, but it won't make our ICT firms close down. Clear? Rather, they will have to evolve a new strategy for future. Clear? They can't depend on new generation such kind of banks like Silicon Valley and Signature Bank, which mainly cater to tech companies. Clear? The, for example, EdTech kind of Amazon and Flipkart, such customers, they are basically modern kind of companies. They are big companies. Their requirements are also bigger. So Silicon Valley was basically having their big customers belonging to these sectors. So right now, according to Government of India, there is no imminent danger being faced by either India's financial system or India's banking industry in case of faced by the bank's closures in USA. But in future, we can't be so sure that we won't be impacted by them. Clear? If subprime crisis of America can catapult into global recession, which has hit us also hard, how can you be sure if banks closures in USA won't have any negative impact on India's economy? Okay, but to the extent financial sector and particularly banking industry of India is concerned, it is very much in safe zone and government doesn't look very concerned about this. Clear? Just nearby country, Canada, in comparison to America, Canada has got today just 58 banks operating. But the exposure of Canadian banks are quite different in nature in comparison to American banks. Because American banks have certain adventurous kind of banking business ideology. Due to that, experts believe that American banking industry has got a rot inside. One of the rots came after you saw subprime crisis. Another rot within came to light, you saw collapse of two banks recently. If such rots within the financial system of America and banking industry keep coming up in few more weeks in coming time, so many dozens of more banks will get closed in USA. Clear? This is to the extent banking collapse is concerned. If you want to ask your query, so you can join my Telegram official group and put your query very comfortably. The next batch of my GS economic course is going to commence by May first week. The second batch is already going on. It's available in offline and offline modes both. Thank you for watching. Give your feedback either through YouTube channel or by joining our